Hi everyone, what you're about to hear is the pilot episode for our brand new spin-off podcast series here at idiomatic.com. Don't F with the original, where we'll be gearing for the latest sequels and remakes by discussing the original movies that started it all. Our series officially starts next Monday when we'll talk about G.I. Joe, but we thought we'd give you a sneak preview of the themes we'll be discussing throughout the series with this conversation about remakes in general. Enjoy.
You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Hey everybody, welcome to Don't F with the Original!
With Nicholas, I'm the video game correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and film critic. And today, we're going to talk about movies, movie remakes, I should say. Well, the most obvious question we need to ask, obviously, is how do you feel about remakes?
I'm a little torn about remakes, because when I want to go see a movie, I want to see an original idea. I want to see something that I watch on the screen and was like, wow, I never thought of this before. This is cool. This is awesome. So if I go see a remake, I've already kind of know what's happening, and the idea's already been done. They're just remaking it. I kind of lose that sense of, wow, I want to see something new and original, and I don't quite like it.
How true is that, though? Because that's something everybody says. I go to the movies and I want to see something original. But box office numbers prove that that's completely false. Because sequels always make twice as much money as an original movie. And remakes typically make money.
Yeah, but the sequels, they take the characters, but they put them in new original situations. Mm-hmm. I mean, if the sequel to Spider-Man was that he fought the Green Goblin again, that would be pretty bad. You know, he gets bitten by a spider again.
Rocky. Rocky 2 made a lot of money, and he fought Apollo again.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Rocky 2. Like I said, I don't follow the box office numbers. I like original ideas, really. So that's why remakes I'm not a huge fan of. However, sometimes you really like a character. You know, I like those characters, and I want to see them again. Okay, you can reboot them, and if you can put a little twist on the story, make some certain parts of the movie original, I'd be fine with it. But I normally like my stuff really fresh and original.
That's interesting. Yeah, remakes, for me, it all depends on what the circumstance is. I really don't object to remakes the way, like, let's say, our fellow panelist Dennis P. does, as I'm sure a lot of you have heard. I don't see what the big deal is, to be honest. Because, let's be honest, just because a movie has an original title doesn't mean it's an original idea.
Yes. Most
movies repeat the same formula over and over and over again. So, a remake for me isn't that offensive because of that.
Yeah.
Especially since I'm a horror fan, and let's face it, a horror sequel is pretty much the same movie but with different teenagers dying. So I'm pretty used to seeing remakes of movies I like at this point.
Okay.
Like Nightmare on Elm Street 2 to 6 are pretty much the same effing movie. Well, 3 to 6, I should say.
Yeah.
But what it does do, in the best of circumstances, is a chance to maybe get closer to the source material when a movie is based on something else. You know, when a movie is based on a book or a comic book or whatever, a remake gives you a chance to, for the filmmakers to be closer to the material when they redo it. And I kind of like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. For example, they remade I Am Legend, the Matheson novella, has been made into movies like 5, 6, 7, 8 times now at this point.
Okay.
There's the Omega Man, there's The Last Man on Earth, and of course there's the Will Smith I Am Legend. And really, the Will Smith I Am Legend movie, there's 2 versions of it. There's the director's cut and there's the theatrical version. And they all are completely different from one another, and they're all variations on different things that whoever made the movie really held on to when they read the novella, clearly. But I actually like the latest version more, the director's cut of the Will Smith movie, Because for me, it touched closer to what I liked about the novella. But in point of fact, The Last Man on Earth is closer in plot. Omega Man is just completely in its own direction.
Okay.
So it is a chance to get to see the book that you like being done in a different way, and maybe closer to what you like. It's interesting on that level, I find.
Okay.
Also, it brings attention to the original. That's one thing that I like. Because, you have these hidden gems that you talk about. It's like, oh, when was that made? Oh, it's in 1977? Yeah, I'm not watching that. But suddenly there's a remake being made of it, and suddenly it's like, oh, the original was so much better. Did you watch it? Yeah, I watched it, and now I love it. It's like, because people really want to bitch on the remake, they suddenly go see those gems of original movies.
Okay.
I take that.
Yeah. I don't know. Since like I said, I like original ideas. If I see a remake, I might go see the original because I've just seen the story, and I might just see the exact same thing roughly. If it's been a while since I've seen, the movie and they remake it, I might go see it. It's not fresh in my mind, but I'm really a fan of new ideas. That's why I'm not a big, box office guy. Because like you said, movies are the same over and over and over again. So I don't go to the movies that much anymore.
That's good that you're hosting the podcast with me about movies then. Awesome.
I like original movies, so I'll go watch those.
But, yeah, I mean, whether or not we like them, let's face it, that's pretty much all there is these days. We're doing Don't F with the original because there's so many remakes coming out. Why do you think that is? Like, why is everything a reboot or a remake these days?
Because original ideas are hard to come by, I'm guessing.
Yeah, but as we established, you can name your movie something else and still do the same thing. Like, how many buddy cop movies can you get that pretend not to be Lethal Weapon?
It's a good point, I'm guessing, but I mean, it's a sure thing. The original probably got some success, and I guess those movie makers like a sure thing. So if the original made success, we're just going to remake it, make it more modern, more attuned to today's crowd. It's going to do great as well. So it's a sure buck. Yeah,
I agree with you. It has to be money, but why is it making more money? Because remakes do make more money than, original movies, unless they're good, or they get good word of mouth, or they have big actors related to them. Remakes attract people. That's why Hollywood does them. But why?
They make more money because movies now make more money, is what I'm guessing.
No, I don't mean more money than the original. Sorry, okay. I meant more money than a movie with an original title. Let's take Karate Kid.
Yeah.
Now, that's actually a worthy remake, I understand, but the kid does kung fu. He's in China. He's not in America. And it's pretty much a, pretty tried and true formula at this point, the kid in the competition and all of that. We've had like a gazillion movies in the 80s and 90s that have that exact same plot. There was no reason for them to actually buy the name The Karate Kid. They could have just ripped off The Karate Kid and just called it their own thing. Nobody would have been able to sue them. So you know that the producers expressly bought the name The Karate Kid so that they could bank on it. Because that name, just the name alone, has monetary value. So, and why is that, is what I'm asking.
I think what you just said is just maybe a marketing thing. Like, The Karate Kid had success in the past. They're remaking it. The Karate Kid, it sounds familiar to people. It's a name they recognize. So, well, we might as well go and see it. Because, the first one was enjoyable. That one's probably going to be enjoyable as well. I mean, it's trying to associate, how they feel with the first one with the new one. Do you think it's a trend that's going to keep going, or is it going to stop? Like, more and more movies are 3D now, but is that going to keep going, or is that going to hopefully stop?
I think it's going to cycle. I think it's going to cycle. I think it's going to be like 3D. Like 3D keeps appearing every 15 years or so.
Okay.
Because everybody's talking about 3D as it's the new step. It's like. But, come on. There was 3D in the 90s and late 80s. There was 3Ds in the 50s. It's nothing new. Maybe it's going to stick this time, maybe not. But 3D's not new to cinema in any real way. It's just better right now than it used to be because it's not using the red-blue thing.
Yeah, and remakes is the same thing. So...
Did they cycle? I mean, remakes are not new, obviously. There were remakes before, but, this really constant wave of remakes, I think you're right. It might be a cycling. And for me, I think what's going on is that why it seems more prevalent today is because we're the first generation that spent our childhood in the blockbuster machine. The Hollywood model to make blockbusters started in the 70s with Steven Spielberg, where he made Jaws, and then there was Star Wars that came out, and then Indiana Jones, and then suddenly the Hollywood industry became this whole thing with synergy and making the big movie, the summer movie that everybody's going to see. We grew up in that. We grew up into this cinema era that directly appeals to us and tries to get us through marketing and everything and gets us to buy merchandise related to the movie, not just the movie. And now we're adults who can buy movie tickets for our families and everything. We're the main consumer that spend the most now. And I'm wondering if it's not a case of us trying to buy back our youth because we pathetically failed at our adulthoods.
Wow, you're harsh.
But I mean, which is just my colorful way of saying nostalgia. But
I'm not gonna go see a remake ever again. I'm a success, man. But maybe that's interesting.
Yeah. Because how many times can Ninja Turtles come back? And it's like, I'm sorry, it's not the kids that are keeping Ninja Turtles alive at this point. You know, it's us. G.I. Joe the movie, come on. It ain't the kids that were going like, ooh, G.I. Joe. They were going, ooh, G.I. Joe the same way they go, ooh, about everything you put in front of them.
Yeah.
But it was the nostalgia folks like us. The Transformers, the same thing. We're trying to buy back our youth.
I guess.
Any remakes that you like, actually?
Sure, I mean, I like the Karate Kid.
Oh, you saw the Karate Kid?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I was, did the scene where Jackie Chan, had to fight kids while not fighting them just fascinated me, so I had to watch it.
It is an intriguing scene, isn't it, though? And I think they handle it, just perfectly. It's such a delicate measure where, one wrong move and I'm making fun of you for the rest of your career.
Yeah. It's really, Mr. Miyagi fighting asshole teenagers. Okay, you can kind of get that. They're teenagers. They can defend themselves.
Especially since they're teenagers played by 27-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. But Jackie Chan having to fight little kids.
Who are genuinely 12 or 13-year-olds, and they're Asian, so they look younger by North American standards.
Yes. That was like, wow, that scene just fascinated me. So I was like, no, I have to watch the movie now.
Well, so you would say that was a good remake, then?
Yeah, it was a good remake, but it was quite different from the original.
Well, at the same time, it has the same beats.
Yeah, there was no car washing, though, but yeah, it did have the same beats.
No, but it had a coat pudding.
Yes, the coat pudding was quite interesting.
I like that a bit, actually.
Yeah.
And I think we can deconstruct it to see what about it works, because I want to talk about what makes a good remake.
Well, to me, it's the same thing that makes a good movie. It has to be enjoyable, and for me, it has to have some original ideas. Like we talked about the Karate Kid. I don't think I would have enjoyed it if he had the little kid wash the cars and paint the house and stuff like that. I was like, that's exactly the same thing as I saw in the other one. It was good that he did the coat pudding thing, and it lasted like 30 seconds. And okay, now let's move on to him actually really training, and that was good. And it was different enough. It kept with the spirit of the original, but it was different enough that it felt original to me.
Yeah, well, it helps that, first of all, they already had a really good stunt coordinator, but on top of that, Jackie Chan and his own personal stunt coordinator went in and went like, this is nice what you're doing, but we'd like to participate and sort of jazz this up a little bit. Yeah, and that's exactly what happened during the movie, and the stunt coordinator that they hired for the Karate Kid was, he's an open-minded guy. And he was just like, yeah, you're Jackie Chan. Of course I want to work with you on this. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I loved you in Around the World in 80 Days. Of course I want to work with you.
No, but I imagine that, especially, Jackie Chan for a stunt coordinator, like, of our generation, that must be, like, the holy grail.
Yeah.
Yes. But I agree with you. In fact, in the message boards over at thedreamersedge.com, if you guys want to participate, we had that conversation on the message board where, it's one of our readers kind of pointed out, there needs to be innovation. It needs to go in its own direction. Innovation. That's the way I was looking for. Yes. The first rule is don't F with the original, I think the second rule should be F with the original a little bit. Yeah. Don't remake it scene for scene, word for word, add a little bit something to it, use the same characters, use the same concept, but
add to it, change the story a little bit,
Yeah, because otherwise you end up with Gus Van Sant's Psycho remake, which was a scene-for-scene remake. Except for a couple of small details where he missed a point, which is really where the movie falters, oddly enough. But
Wow.
It's also a big case of everybody seeing this is going like, this is interesting on a film school level, but what the hell?
Seen this. That must have been really odd to watch. I mean, let's watch, 1 week before the movie comes out, let's watch the original to give us, to give us a taste for it, and then you go watch it in the movie theater. What the hell?
And imagine, like, as an accomplished filmmaker, if you're doing this, you're trying, surely, to prove that directorial efforts are more than just, the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
He's probably trying to make a remake that's scene per scene that's going to end up different in some way, I mean, that can only be his goal as a filmmaker. Otherwise, why are you a filmmaker if you feel otherwise?
Yeah.
So, and he's remaking a classic by Hitchcock, who's known as just, a master of suspense, this just genius director for his time. So, you're watching this and going like, Gus Van Sant, you realize you just pretty much set yourself up for failure no matter what. Like,
yeah.
What are you doing? It's a weird thing. But yeah, you gotta go in a different direction. I agree with you. So we establish respect the spirit, respect the themes, and we're saying go in your own direction, do something different as well.
Yeah.
Any other rule? Just 2 rules to making a good remake, or more rules than that?
No, it has to be a good movie, enjoyable, that people don't walk out of the theater thinking, being angry, saying, well, I wasted my time because I just rented the original one. It has to.
Oh yeah, well, it being good is sort of implicit.
I can't think of any other rules really.
Yeah.
Being innovative is important, but besides that,
I think I would add as a number 3 rule, it has to be current or relevant to the current culture.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because otherwise, what's the point of a remake? I can just watch the original. The point of the remake is you want to update things so that it feels current to a new audience. So if you don't directly address that audience, what's the point? Yeah,
I wouldn't enjoy Red Dawn if they fighted the Soviet in the remake.
So ties to the thing, update it to its current audience, innovate. I guess that's it. I mean, I don't really ask for more.
Yeah.
Keep the title.
Yeah, keep the title. Sure.
And that's for purely commercial concerns, but because a lot of people complained that the Karate Kid should have been named the Kung Fu Kid. And it was like, no, call it the Karate Kid. There's no point in buying the rights to the franchise if you're not going to bank on the name.
Yeah. The Kung Fu Kid, that doesn't ring right anyway. Everyone knows the Karate Kid.
Yeah. The Kung Fu Kid. I'm pretty sure when I was a kid at a grocery store, I bought a bunch of action figurines that looked like the Karate Kid called the Kung Fu Kid. Those cheap knockoffs? Pretty sure. I'm pretty sure I bought that.
It does make it sound like a knockoff, a cheap knockoff, if you just change the title like that.
Yeah.
Like all those Italian movies like Terminator 2.
Oh yeah, but they don't even alter the title in any way.
Robot Wars, which is
No, the American knockoffs are even funnier. Like the B-movie knockoffs are even greater. When Transformers came out, of course, we were served the pleasure of getting in every video store Transmorphers.
Wow, yeah.
Which I believe is a remake of GoBots, but
so yeah, keep the title. It's classier.
No, I mean, because the rip-off police is going to be on your tail anyway. So I say, if you're going to remake something, just claim it.
Yeah. Just say claim it, or else people are going to say rip-off. So say it's a remake. Your 2 choices, remake or rip-off.
Oh, you know what? There's a real rule. Because we have 3 rules. Here's a real 4th rule. Don't nod too much to the original. Like the wink-wink nods, they annoy me to no end. They're super distracting. Don't do that.
Yeah. If you're going to make it once, make it subtle. That, people who are real fans of the original are like, oh, this is awesome. And, people that are just watching the movie are, have known about the original, but are just watching the movie to enjoy it. They're not taking off the movie completely by, a 10-second pause of the audience laughing because we just made a wink. It's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, because the reboot of Star Trek, J.J. Abrams' reboot of Star Trek, I liked it a lot more than you did. And talking to more people, I realized people who are fans of Star Trek hate the crap out of it, And people who are just sort of casually know Star Trek but aren't particularly attached to it really love the new Star Trek. And it occurred to me why. It's because they keep nodding to the original series every 5 seconds. Now, because I don't know the original series that much, it all went over my head, so I got to enjoy the movie. But I got to rewatch it with you, and every 5 minutes I could see your face going like groaning and rolling your eyes. I get it.
Yeah, pretty much. That was distracting. And it wasn't even a remake. It was a continuation in alternate dimension, but whatever. The winks were just, okay, enough.
I think it's a reboot. I think it's one of those movies that are trying to eat their cake and have it too.
Yeah, it's true.
It's a reboot that's claiming to continue the story.
Yeah, but it really was like, okay, enough. Okay, let's move on. Come on.
Yeah, see, it all flew over my head. And I caught a couple of Wrath of Khan references, but that's pretty much it, man. And the green chick, of course, the green chick.
Yeah.
And of course, I think any rule that you're going to have regarding how to make a good remake has to involve the question of what movies to pick. You know, when should you make a remake?
Yeah.
And that, I think, is a trickier question. Like, what movies should you make? Because, like, so far the trend has been to take really great classics that everybody has a lot of affection for and then remaking them. But there's always a question that pops up, and every comedian makes that joke, is like, why don't they remake bad movies? Because, you know, the good movies, I can watch the original, remake the bad one.
Yeah. Well, do you remake them? A lot of them are because they're outdated. People watch them today, and they wouldn't get it, you know, like, oh, the Soviet Union fighting. Why is the Soviet Union so powerful? You know, make it more current. Also, you know, add modern technology. It's funny to see, you know, movies that are, you know, supposed to be based in the future with people, you know, no cell phones, no internet, no nothing. And I find that pretty amusing. So you remake those kinds of movies, you know, to make them a little more current. I could see that happening. Yeah.
For me, like, to a certain degree, I kind of like old special effects. Like, granted, I am one person that it occurs to me that I have a complete blind spot for bad special effects.
Yeah.
When I talk to colleagues often ask me, like, hey, what about this movie? And they're old movies, and I've seen them all. It goes like, and how are the special effects? And I kind of stare at them blankly going, I have no idea, because I have a complete blind spot for them. Like, all special effects look good enough for me. I am not a complicated man.
Yeah.
But what I will say, I think when the culture has come full circle, when we're sort of in a similar climate as when the original movie was made, is not a bad idea to make a remake. For example, Escape from New York, which was in the John Carpenter movie, which was made in reaction to Watergate.
Yeah.
It was all about distrusting the government. I mean, Snake Plissken is a true blue anarchist. Not Joker, anarchist, nihilist, not like an actual anarchist.
Yeah.
And the whole movie is all about rejecting the government. And then they recently announced that they're planning of maybe doing a remake of that. And I'm going like, now was an era where both Democrats and a lot of Republicans went, that's not really the government I was expecting.
Yeah. That's true.
You know? And they would have been a great time to sort of bring back Snake Plissken to go like, bad government.
Right now, I would see them more remaking Demolition Man. See,
that would be freaking hilarious. That would be great.
I think another trend that we see a lot is that we don't wait for the culture to come full circle. They just kind of mess up one movie and they said, let's remake it immediately.
Oh, like Spider-Man.
Like Spider-Man or X-Men. It's like the third movie.
X-Men is a prequel.
Yeah, but they're probably going to reboot it from there. But like Spider-Man, the third one was just like fan reaction was very, very bad for it, and it was not a great movie. So let's just reboot immediately while the superhero genre is hot right now, and let's make some movie with it. So they're just rebooting them now. So not even waiting for it for superhero movies to go out of style and come back. Let's just do it now.
Yeah, well, Batman: The Dark Knight, the Christopher Nolan movie, and he announced with David Goyer that it's going to be the last. They're not interested in doing it anymore, and they're like, we're concluding our Batman story. Of course, there's going to be Batman movies afterwards, but we're not going to be involved.
Okay.
And Warner Brothers went out immediately going, we're going to continue the series and reboot it immediately immediately after for like that date, and it's like barely a couple of years after.
Wow.
And you're like, really? You're not? You have no plans on letting it res? You know? Because like with the X-Men franchise, I understand where it comes from. Because Fox holds the X-Men license from Marvel as long as they can use it. So they kind of need to pop out movies regularly to make sure that they never lose that license. And Marvel is actively trying to get it back because they're trying to get back all their superhero licenses.
Yeah.
So they want to keep moving so that they can keep the license. The same thing with Spider-Man. Sony has the license, and as long as they produce movies, they don't have to give it back to Marvel. So I understand where that comes from. It's a completely financial concern. But with Warner Brothers and Batman, like, Time Warner is the same company. It owns DC, so that's not really an issue.
Yeah. Or one I don't agree with, like the Hulk. That was a great movie. Like, was it 2 years later? The Hulk.
No, it's longer than that.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought it was pretty. It was insane. In a really short time. It like really reboot right now.
Well, let's see. Hulk was what, 2003, 2004?
Yeah.
And Incredible Hulk was what, 2009? I think.
Oh, it was early 2008.
2008? Well, earliest 2008. Yeah. It's the earliest.
Okay, so it's 5-6 years, but it's still a very very short time for a reboot.
Mm.
And that, to me, that was like, wow, really? Like, I still remember the first one. It's still, it's not outdated, it's still in modern time. It's not like Hulk is fighting the Soviets or the Nazis, it's in modern time. It's perfectly fine, and I really enjoyed it. So to me, it was a shock, like, really? A reboot right now?
Yeah, because there's more space between the Alien sequels than between those two Hulk movies.
Yeah.
It's just an odd thing. But although they made a movie that doesn't necessarily reboot the thing. They don't openly contradict anything that happens in Hulk.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
but they were kind of claiming it was like it's a reboot. It's
but that's to appease the fans. Because the comic book fans, well, the vocal comic book fans, I should say. Because I'm a comic book fan and I like the Hulk.
Yeah.
But the vocal comic book fans are sort of poo-pooing on Ang Lee's Hulk all over the place.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, not for nothing, but like part of me feels there might be a racial component in it.
Oh,
I'm not kidding, because on the message boards, that's how it comes across. And I would never have said that. Like, I'm not a big like everything is a racist conspiracy theorist kind of guy. But Nick is looking at me going like, "Yes, you are."
Well, I didn't think so first, but now more and more now, really.
No, but if you go on message boards. Like for websites like Newsarama and Comic Book Resources, the number of postings that go like they should never have let a chink handle the Hulk. The Hulk is about power, and these tiny dicks people can't do anything. And the number of comments like that was like, okay,
wow.
And especially since Ang Lee is really Chinese in his filmmaking. Like, his approach to filmmaking is particularly Chinese. Yeah. It's not just that he's Chinese. Like, because like John Woo, he makes an American movie. It feels an awful lot like an American movie.
Yeah.
But Ang Lee, not so much.
I guess. Yeah.
And I'm wondering if they didn't want to pull Hulk more towards apple pie because of that fan reaction.
Yeah, Hulk and apple pie, I can see them. Like...
Hulk versus apple pie. Roar! Hulk smash apple pie. Yeah, Hulk now has to wash hands.
Maybe, but still, it was like completely different cast, completely different. It really felt like a reboot, even though they don't contradict anything. They changed the whole cast, so it really felt like it was a reboot. And like 5 or 6 years afterwards, to me, it was mind-boggling.
Yeah. Of course, I say it was pulling more towards apple pie, and that's the joke I was leading to, and it doesn't work anymore, so I'm probably going to delete the whole thing. But they were leading more towards apple pie with a French director.
Really?
Yeah, it's a French director.
Oh, wow.
I was totally making this whole point to deflate it at the end.
Damn it.
I missed it.
Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. It was a complicated joke to pull off. Yeah, no, I agree with you. The Hulk, it came awfully close, and it's not the only example. I think my favorite is Nightmare on Elm Street.
Really?
Because the last Nightmare on Elm Street sequel from the original series was Freddy vs. Jason with Robert Englund. And it came out around 2003, 2002, I think.
Yeah.
Which is 8 years after the last Nightmare on Elm Street movie. Well, A New Nightmare, which wasn't even about Freddy. So the last Freddy movie actually came out somewhere around 94, I think. So that's like a full 8-9 years.
Yeah.
after, but they can still continue the series. But, 3-4 years later, you need a reboot. So what happened there?
I don't know, maybe they thought, okay, we got some success with Jason versus Freddy, so let's start over, let's reboot it. There's some interest in the character, so...
Yeah.
Or else they could have made Freddy versus some other guy.
I would have loved that. Freddy versus Ash from Evil Dead. That would have been awesome.
Oh, I thought it was Freddy versus Ash from Pokemon. That would have been...
Right you! Whatever you do, Ash, do not use Clefairy. Oh. Whatever you do!
You're taking Jigglypuff.
Which one that puts people to sleep is Jigglypuff?
Yeah.
Oh, Clefairy is the one that heals.
Clefairy also kind of puts... Clefairy uses the metronome.
Okay, so he does put people to sleep. Oh, so I was thinking of the right Pokemon.
Yeah, but in this series, it's mostly Jigglypuff that puts everybody to sleep.
Yeah, really?
It's a running gag every episode. He puts people to sleep.
Okay. I am not up on my Pokemon anymore. I used to be pretty big on that, but...
That's okay.
Not too much. I stopped trying to catch them all. That's what happened, really. If you have any questions, comments you want to share with us, write us at mail@idiomanic.com or post a comment at idiomanic.com. We're also on Facebook. We're also on Twitter. And we will see you next time. Hi everyone, what you're about to hear is the pilot episode for our brand new spin-off podcast series here at idiomanic.com. Don't F with the original, where we'll be gearing for the latest sequels and remakes by discussing the original movies that started it all. Our series officially starts next Monday when we'll talk about G.I. Joe, but we thought we'd give you a sneak preview of the themes we'll be discussing throughout the series with this conversation about remakes in general. Enjoy.
You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't fuck with the original.
Hey everybody, welcome to Don't F with the Original!
With Nicholas, I'm the video game correspondent for Idiomatic.
And I am Dimitri, editor-in-chief of Idiomatic and film critic. And today, we're going to talk about movies, movie remakes, I should say. Well, the most obvious question we need to ask, obviously, is how the director's cut of the Will Smith movie. Because for me, it touched closer to what I liked about the novella. But in point of fact, The Last Man on Earth is closer in plot. Omega Man is just completely in its own direction. Okay. So it is a chance to get to see the book that you like being done in a different way, maybe closer to what you like. It's interesting on that level, I find.
Okay.
Also, it brings attention to the original. That's one thing that I like. Because, you have these hidden gems that you talk about. It's like, oh, when was that made? Oh, it's in 1977? Yeah, I'm not watching that. But suddenly there's a remake being made of it, and suddenly it's like, oh, the original was so much better. Did you watch it? Yeah, I watched it, and now I love it. It's like, because people really want to bitch on the remake, they suddenly go see those gems of original movies.
Okay.
I take that.
Yeah. I don't know. Since, like I said, I like original ideas. If I see a remake, I might go see the original, because I've just seen the story. And I might just see the exact same thing, roughly. If it's been a while since I've seen, the movie and they remake it, I might go see it, It's not fresh in my mind, but I'm really a fan of new ideas. That's why I'm not a big,
How do you feel about remakes?
I'm a little torn about remakes, because when I want to go see a movie, I want to see an original idea. I want to see something that I watch on the screen and was like, wow, I never thought of this before. This is cool. This is awesome. So if I go see a remake, I've already kind of know what's happening, and the idea's already been done. They're just remaking it. I kind of lose that sense of, wow, I want to see something new and original, and I don't quite like it.
How true is that, though? Because that's something everybody says. I go to the movies and I want to see something original. But box office numbers prove that that's completely false. Because sequels always make twice as much money as an original movie. And remakes typically make money.
Yeah, but the sequels, they take the characters, but they put them in new original situations. Mm-hmm. I mean, if the sequel to Spider-Man was that he fought the Green Goblin again, that would be pretty bad. He gets bitten by a spider again.
Oh, Rocky. I mean, Rocky 2 made a lot of money, and he fought Apollo again.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of Rocky 2. Like I said, I don't follow the box office numbers.
Street 2 to 6 are pretty much the same effing movie. Well, 3 to 6, I should say.
Yeah.
But what it does do, in the best of circumstances, is a chance to maybe get closer to the source material when a movie is based on something else. You know, when a movie is based on a book or a comic book or whatever, a remake gives you a chance to for the filmmakers to be closer to the material when they redo it. And I kind of like that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. For example, they remade I Am Legend, the Matheson novella, has been made into movies like 5, 6, 7, 8 times now at this point.
Okay.
There's the Omega Man, there's The Last Man on Earth, and of course there's the Will Smith I Am Legend. And really, the Will Smith I Am Legend movie, there's 2 versions of it. There's the director's cut and there's the theatrical version. And they all are completely different from one another, and they're all variations on different things that whoever made the movie really held on to when they read the novella, clearly. But I actually like the latest version more.
I like original ideas, really. So that's why remakes I'm not a huge fan of. However, sometimes you really like a character, you know, I like those characters and I want to see them again. Okay, you can reboot them, and if you can put a little twist on the story, make, you know, some certain parts of the movie original, I'd be fine with it. But I normally like my stuff really fresh and original.
That's interesting. Yeah, remakes, for me, it all depends on what the circumstance is. I really don't object to remakes the way, like, let's say, our fellow panelist Dennis P. does, as I'm sure a lot of you have heard. I don't see what the big deal is, to be honest. Because, let's be honest, just because a movie has an original title doesn't mean it's an original idea.
Yes.
Most movies repeat the same formula over and over and over again. So, a remake for me isn't that offensive because of that.
Yeah.
Especially since I'm a horror fan, and let's face it, a horror sequel is pretty much the same movie but with different teenagers dying. So I'm pretty used to seeing remakes of movies I like at this point.
Okay.
Like Nightmare on Elm